Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
Life on Earth has faced many great dangers. Asteroids, volcanoes, and not enough oxygen almost stopped life completely. But against all odds, humans have found a way to survive. How did we change from tiny parts to a species that lives all over the world? This story will explore how humans came to be. Millions of years ago, something amazing happened. Life began from things that were not alive. This is called abiogenesis. Imagine a hot soup of chemicals in the deep ocean, perhaps near a hot volcano. Over a very long time, these tiny chemicals joined together. They formed special chains, which were like small building blocks for life. Slowly, some of these chains started to copy themselves. This was the start of the first simple living cells. This is how the very first single-celled organism likely appeared. We call this first ancestor Luca, which stands for the last universal common ancestor. Every living thing on Earth today, including humans, animals, plants, and fungi, can be traced back to Luca. One big difference between us and Luca is that we can think about ourselves. We are self-conscious. We know much about how our brains grew big and how we started walking on 2 feet. But how we got self-consciousness is still a little mysterious. Some thinkers believe that special mushrooms might have helped us gain this ability. They suggest that these psychedelic mushrooms could have changed how our early ancestors thought. These molecules in mushrooms can change how the brain works, alter how we see things, and help people connect better. These changes might have been important for human consciousness. Today, some companies like Cybin are using these kinds of molecules to help people with problems like sadness and worry. Cybin has received special status from the FDA for its new treatments for major sadness, meaning their work is moving quickly. It is interesting to think that the same types of molecules that might have shaped our minds long ago are now helping to heal them. 2. The start of life. After the very first forms of life, made of tiny molecules, began to multiply, our planet needed a significant change. For larger and more complex animals to exist, Earth's atmosphere had to be different. Long, long ago, the air around Earth was not rich with oxygen as it is now. Instead, it was filled with gases like nitrogen, hydrogen, water vapor, and carbon dioxide. This critical change began when tiny, simple living things appeared, cyanobacteria. These small organisms started a powerful process, slowly releasing oxygen into the atmosphere. Over millions of years, this precious oxygen built up, transforming the air and making it possible for new and more complex life forms to breathe and thrive. This was a truly necessary step for everything that came later. While the atmosphere was changing, the Earth's solid surface was also very active. Around 1 billion years ago, the planet's huge land masses were moving constantly. These large pieces of land joined together to create immense land areas known as supercontinents. One of these ancient supercontinents was called Rodinia. Then, a few 100 million years later, another massive continent named Pannotia formed, often located near the South Pole. These grand shifts in the Earth's geography did not just change the scenery, they also created new environments and challenges that pushed life to evolve further. During these periods of great change, life in the oceans was also taking incredible new steps. From the single-celled organisms that were the first signs of life, evolution continued. These simple cells began to work together, grouping and specializing. Slowly, over vast amounts of time, they developed into the very first simple animals. These early creatures were basic, without complex organs, but their existence marked a huge jump from being just one cell. They were the important foundation for all the diverse animals that would come after them. Then, about 550 million years ago, a truly amazing event unfolded in Earth's history. Scientists call it the Cambrian explosion. This was a time when life in the oceans suddenly became incredibly diverse. Hundreds of different animal forms and body plans appeared rapidly. It was like a sudden burst of creativity in nature, bringing forth the basic designs for almost every major animal group we recognize today. This included the very distant ancestors of humans. The Cambrian explosion was a critical moment, laying down the building blocks for the rich variety of animal life that now fills our world. 3. After the dinosaurs. 66 million years ago, a terrible event changed life on Earth forever. Dinosaurs had been the most powerful animals for many millions of years. They had survived many challenges. But then a very large asteroid hit our planet. It crashed into the area we now call the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. This impact was immense. It threw tons of dust, ash, and rocks high into the sky. This thick cloud covered the entire Earth, blocking the sun's light for a long time. Without the sun, Earth became cold, and many plants died. This caused a big problem for all animals, especially the large dinosaurs. They could not find enough food, and slowly the dinosaurs disappeared from Earth. This mass extinction event was a new beginning for other creatures. It made a perfect opportunity for mammals to become important. Before this, mammals were often small, living mostly at night, hiding from the large dinosaurs. After the dinosaurs were gone, these small furry mammals started to thrive. They were the first ancestors of all primates. These early animals were similar to today's small rodents. They found special places to live and eat, enjoying the diet of fruits and insects. With no large dinosaurs to compete with, they grew in number very fast. Their brains also slowly became larger over time, allowing them to adapt better to new environments. Over many millions of years, these early primates continued to change and develop. This evolution led to the appearance of monkeys. We saw monkeys in different parts of the world, like Africa, Asia, and South America. Many millions of years after that, apes evolved from these monkey-like ancestors. From these apes, different groups formed. One group led to orangutans, for example. Soon after, the long journey that would lead to humans began. This was a critical time for our distant ancestors. 4. Walking on 2 feet. Around 8 or 9 million years ago, there was a common ancestor. This creature was the beginning of both chimpanzees and humans. It split into 2 different lines, one for chimpanzees and one for humans. This moment was a very important step in our story. For a long time, many thought this split was very clear. They believed that once the 2 lines separated, they stayed completely apart. But this was not entirely true. The 2 groups continued to live close to each other. They even mated and shared genes for millions of years. It may have taken a full 4 million years before the 2 species fully stopped interbreeding. Even today, humans and chimpanzees are still very similar. We share an astonishing 98 to 99% of our genes. This shows how closely we are related, even now. About 5 to 6 million years ago, the group that would become humans, known as the Homo genus, became more distinct. Even at this stage, our early ancestors still looked a lot like apes. One famous ancestor is Lucy, whose remains were found in Ethiopia. She lived 3.2 million years ago. Lucy had a small brain, about the size of a chimpanzee's. Her arms were long, suggesting she spent much time in trees, possibly swinging through them at night. However, there was one very important feature that made Lucy and other early humans different from apes. They were bipeds. This means they walked on 2 legs. This was a major change in how they moved and lived. Why did early humans begin walking upright? Scientists have different ideas about this big question. One idea is called the savanna hypothesis. It suggests that forests started to become smaller, and open grasslands, known as savannas, grew larger. Humans spent more time looking for food in these tall grasses. Walking on 2 legs helped them see further over the grass. It was like standing taller to look around, which gave them a better view of their surroundings and helped them find food or spot dangers. This was a strong advantage in the open land. Another idea comes from observing chimpanzees. Some scientists think early humans might have walked upright mostly while in trees. They might have done this to reach fruit on higher branches or to escape from predators. But this theory has some things it needs to explain. For example, it does not fully explain why only humans developed walking on 2 legs and chimps did not. This question remains for this idea. 5. A dangerous world. Around 2.6 million years ago, a new type of early human began to live on Earth. This species was named Homo habilis, which means handyman. Their brains were getting bigger, and this helped them to do something very important. They started making tools. The first tools were simple. They were just stones that had been sharpened to make a cutting edge. These tools were very useful for many tasks in their daily lives, helping them to survive in a harsh environment. Homo habilis mostly lived as scavengers. They did not hunt large animals themselves. Instead, they waited for powerful predators, like saber-toothed tigers, to finish eating. Then, Homo habilis would use their stone tools to get the leftover meat from the dead animals. They also broke open bones to reach the rich, soft marrow inside. This marrow was full of nutrients and energy. Sometimes they might find a dead zebra, an elephant, or even a giraffe. But a big part of what they ate was plants and fruits. Life for these early humans was very dangerous, and they faced many threats every day. The fossil records from about 1 to 2 million years ago show proof of their difficult lives. For example, scientists found the remains of a young person who was attacked by a leopard. The leopard dragged the person up a tree. Another discovery was a 3-year-old child who was likely caught by a large eagle, with its sharp claws leaving marks on the child's skull. Beyond animal attacks, diseases were also common and deadly. One young person got a bad infection after a tooth fell out, and this infection led to their death. There was also a discovery of a woman who died because she ate too much animal liver, causing vitamin A poisoning. These examples show that survival was a constant struggle against both wild animals and illnesses. Every day presented a new danger in their world. Early humans had to be very strong and smart to live through such a challenging time. 6. Using fire and tools. 800,000 years ago, early humans learned to control fire. This was a monumental discovery, helping them in many ways. Fire kept them warm, especially during cold nights. It also scared away dangerous animals, making their camps safer. Most importantly, humans could now cook their food, which profoundly changed their diet and bodies. Eating cooked meat had a significant effect on human evolution. Cooked meat was softer and easier to digest than raw meat. This provided more energy and nutrients, crucial for survival, and helped their brains grow larger. Fire, therefore, played a key role in our brain development. However, cooking food also brought physical changes. With softer meat, humans needed to chew less. Over time, their jaws became smaller. A smaller jaw meant less space for teeth, often leading to crooked teeth. Earlier humans with larger jaws typically had very straight teeth, showing this dietary impact. With fire and a better food supply, humans sought better places to live. They moved beyond caves. Around 400,000 years ago, they began building simple houses. The oldest known building, found in France, indicates their growing settlement and creativity. Around this time, Homo heidelbergensis appeared. This group was crucial as the common ancestor of Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans. Between 300,000 and 400,000 years ago, some Homo heidelbergensis migrated from Africa to Eurasia. One subgroup went west into Europe, becoming Neanderthals. Another traveled east into Asia, developing into Denisovans. These early movements and diversification were key to how different human types spread and developed unique characteristics across the planet. 7. Humans go everywhere. Around 300,000 years ago, in Africa, the first Homo sapiens appeared. These early humans slowly changed from Homo heidelbergensis. Over 150,000 more years, these archaic Homo sapiens evolved to become like the humans we are today. Our physical features, like the shape of our foreheads and faces, became different over this time. Modern Homo sapiens had a more rounded and bigger skull with a higher forehead. About 200,000 years ago, during this period of change, a very important female ancestor was born. Scientists now call her mitochondrial Eve. The DNA of every single person alive today can be traced back to her. She is like a very, very old great-grandmother to all of us. Life was still very challenging for these early humans. Many things could cause death, such as diseases, fights over food, or attacks from wild animals. The average person lived only about 30 years. The total number of humans on Earth was probably less than 1 million. Then, 74,000 years ago, our small population faced a big threat. A supervolcano erupted. This event caused massive changes to the global climate. Africa became very dry. Homo sapiens came very close to disappearing forever. Perhaps only a few thousand adults survived this difficult time. During this period, humans divided into smaller groups, and they began to eat more fish as rivers shrank. This change in food might have been one reason they decided to leave Africa. Around 60,000 years ago, modern humans started to leave Africa. As water levels became lower, new paths opened up for travel. Humans first journeyed to Asia. By 45,000 years ago, they lived in places like Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and Australia. On their travels, Homo sapiens met other types of early humans. In Asia, Homo sapiens met groups of Denisovans. They had children together, and today, some people in Asia have a small amount of Denisovan DNA. Around 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens reached Europe. They traveled there in two main ways. In Europe, they met Neanderthals. Again, Homo sapiens and Neanderthals had children. This mixing of genes means some modern humans have genes from Neanderthals, affecting things like skin and hair. Later, about 15,000 years ago, Homo sapiens traveled from Asia to North America. There was a land bridge called Beringia at that time, connecting what is now Siberia to Alaska. After crossing to North America, some humans continued their journey south, reaching South America. This widespread travel meant humans truly started to go everywhere on Earth. 8. Our world today. At a certain point in history, all other Homo species disappeared. Only Homo sapiens remained on Earth. We do not know exactly why this happened. Perhaps Homo sapiens were better at surviving, or maybe they simply outcompeted the other groups for food and land. Around 12,000 years ago, humans made a very important change. They started farming. People learned to grow plants like peas, lentils, and barley. They also began to keep animals such as goats and oxen. The first farmers lived in a place called the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East. But other groups in different parts of the world also started farming around the same time. This new way of life meant that humans could settle down instead of constantly moving. With farming, the human population started to grow faster. By the year 1 AD, there were about 170 million people on Earth. But history also brought challenges. In the 14th century, a terrible sickness called the bubonic plague spread. It killed about 50 million people from a world population of about 450 million. It took 200 years for Europe to get back to its old population numbers. About 250 years ago, another big change happened, the Industrial Revolution. The world moved from farms and villages to cities and factories. Our population grew very quickly. In 1804, there were 1 billion people. By 2023, there were 8 billion people. This growth has been very fast. To support this, humans have used a lot of energy from coal, oil, and gas. Now we are looking for new energy sources like solar power. We are also making new technology and planning space travel. What do you think is the biggest challenge humanity will face in the next 100 years?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.